Let's get to the hotel inquiry, and let's not wait 24 hours to tell you what happened. I'll tell you each and every night what happened. There's no delay, because Chairman Dan did not have a good day. Now remember, the hotel inquiry, which has been going for weeks and spoken to dozens and dozens of people, is now starting to get frustrated because no one is owning up. The Sergeant Schultz defence, I know nothing. Collective decision-making is what's being blamed rather than an individual.
No single person, for example, has accepted that they were in control of Operation Soteria.
Now, we showed you yesterday on this program, because, of course, we do today's news, not yesterday's news, today's news, and it's why we are the #1 show on the #1 channel here on Foxtel, and I very much appreciate your support. There was the boss of the Premier's Department. The Premier's Department, well, he gave this ludicrous defence as to why he may have known that the federal government had the ADF on offer to stop hotel quarantine from getting out of control. And remember, that's why the second wave happened. But he's not going to own up about why he did or didn't tell anyone about it.
I'm not saying that I didn't. I'm saying that I'm not aware that I did or didn't.
Really? When asked about it today, here's what the chairman said.
Well, as I've consistently said, Simon, there's a process going on at the moment, and it's important that that process runs to its logical conclusion, and that will be findings, guidance, all sorts of material that will come out of that. They'll make recommendations, I would think, about what next steps should be, and I'll leave it to the inquiry, which I'm assisting later this week, to do that important work.
Oh, God, even when he's accepting responsibility, it's rubbish. Now, by the way, he was due to appear at the hotel inquiry tomorrow. But funnily enough, things are a little bit too busy, a little bit too complicated. So he has decided that when is he going to appear? Well, it'll of course be on Friday, when most people won't be paying attention to the 6 p.m. news and most people will start turning their attention to finals footy in the AFL. He's also doing his best to try to hide the events of what is happening every day at that hotel inquiry. Now, every day it has been at about 11 o'clock that we have to sit there and put up with the endless dronings and the little will we this, will we that garbage, and I frankly suggest don't watch it. If there's a big change, somebody will text you about it, or I'll tell you here. I've got to watch it, but like they say on The Outsiders, I'll watch it so you don't have to. Well, he's decided just this week to move when his press conference starts. It now starts at an hour earlier. Why? Because it's the same time that hotel quarantine starts. So, of course, he can't be asked any questions about what is happening in hotel quarantine. So he's reacting to yesterday's news, which will be superseded by today's news, which means his defence or otherwise of what happened the day before disappears. Now, the Victorian government say that the reason his press conference is happening 1 hour earlier is because we're getting the data earlier than we used to get it. Well, that's rubbish too, because as you know, on this show, I told you weeks ago that they don't announce anymore, even when people die in the press conference with the Premier, it's tweeted before 9 a.m. It has been for weeks. So if the data has been available earlier for weeks, why is it only this week that the Premier, who is due to appear at the hotel inquiry this week, decides to move his press conference? You know, and I know. And a bloke who knows about what the ultimate strategy here, which is nobody accepts responsibility, and then you eventually do a Peter Beattie-style apology and everyone gets off the hook, is the legendary former Victorian Premier Jeff Kennett. He didn't miss today.
No politician will accept responsibility. It is the most extraordinary situation, and bear in mind, as you said, the failure at those quarantine hotels led to the second wave here, which to date has taken over 750 lives.
It's outrageous. It truly is. That's why accountability matters. Now, there might be some who say, look, Paul, let's not worry about how the bushfire started. Let's just fight the bushfire and then we'll talk about how it started. It started in hotel quarantine. You can't just move this around. You can't hide from it, even though you've got the human shields on Twitter and much of the lefty media who will pretend that somehow it's a News Corp conspiracy, that a government should be held accountable for the decisions that it did or did not make that resulted in hotel quarantine busting, that resulted in hundreds of people dying. That's just called reality, and you can't hide from that forever. So what happened today? Well, other shows will tell you what happened yesterday today. I'll tell you what happened today, tonight.
The inquiry uncovering more evidence, a series of WhatsApp messages showing bureaucrats were wary from the get-go of hiring private security, describing it as a cowboy industry.
So they knew. The text messages from way at the start, they knew that there was a problem, but they did nothing about it. So nobody owns the responsibility for cleaning up the mess that nobody owns the responsibility of making. Good luck pulling the wool over the eyes of the people of Victoria or the wider rest of the country, or more importantly, the hundreds of families who have lost a family member and because of the failures of hotel quarantine have not been able to honour them with funerals that they deserve. And as you know, the curfew stays in place, and even if we get to the average of 30 to 50 cases over 14 days, the curfew will still be in place. It will still be illegal for you to be able to mow your neighbour's lawn. It will be illegal for you to pay for somebody to mow your parents' lawn. So it was rather curious today when this picture turned up at news.com.au. It is a picture of someone being paid to do the lawns out the front of a Labor MP's office. Now, as Jim from Jim's Mowing told us before, one of the absurdities of this particular situation is that the people who are paid, their business, to take care of other people's lawns and yards, they can't work. But the people who do the lawns for the local council are allowed to work. Good luck. You can tell me every poll in the world that says people love their captor. People can see rubbish before their very eyes.